5 years ago today, the arrest and subsequent death of a 46-year-old man named George Floyd sparked protests across the country and calls from local police departments to Capitol Hill for a change in the way America looks at race and policing. So 5 years after that video shocked the conscience of the nation, what has changed? NBC's Shaquille Brewster has our Sunday focus.
May 25th, 2020, George Floyd pinned under the knee of Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin for more than 9 minutes. His death, captured on camera, sparking a nationwide social justice movement. Chauvin convicted of murder and manslaughter.
Find the defendant guilty.
3 other officers on scene also found guilty of state and federal charges. And in the wake of Floyd's death, calls for national police reform.
But let's get it done next month, by the first anniversary of George Floyd's death.
While Congress failed to...
Why would Biden be calling for something to be signed and passed by the first anniversary of George Floyd's death way back 5 years ago, and for it to be signed and taken care of, just to put it behind us? Or is signing, what was it that can be signed and ultimately was that changed anything? Has policing in the United States changed? Of course not. And they knew that. And Joe Biden knew that. Why instead of putting Kamala Harris on the border, why didn't he put Kamala Harris on policing and police reform? And they're resistant, both sides. They don't want police reform. The way policing in the United States is going right now is the way they want it to be going, or it wouldn't be going this way. They're okay with it. And we're under the foolish belief that they're doing all they can do to change it. And they're trying. And the ones who don't believe that the recipients of all that violence at the hands of the police deserve it. So either way, it's a lose-lose position. But it's a fictitious game being played, and we're in the middle of it because they use us on both sides. We go as far as being policemen and prison guards, down to the other end of the spectrum, being the captains, the ones held in captivity. And because this big old game is being played this way, you have black people fighting on both sides of it. Some black people believe that you made your own bed, you lie in it, you go to prison, you break a law, you do the crime, you do the time, all of that. And then there's other black people with another train of thought, and they believe that more opportunities mean less black people in prison, and not targeting black people who are underprivileged, poor, don't have a lot, and have a higher propensity to be involved in criminal activity because they can't make any money on the right side of the law. It's just a fact. But with that being said, who is focusing on police reform in the United States and actively trying to change it? Who? What group? What person? Whose life's work is that? Who's out there no matter what, through thick and thin, and have been able to break through? Or been allowed to break through? Who?
Act, more than 1,500 policing-related bills were enacted across nearly every state, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. Laws that include a ban on chokeholds and no-knock warrants, mandatory police body cams.
They banned no-knock warrants. They banned chokeholds. They could ban the footwear. They could ban a whole lot of things that police have and utilize in the course of their work. It's what's inside that uniform. It's that human that has access to those weapons and those I can't even call them tools, but they're tools being used for wrong, for bad, for harm. And we keep not getting it completely because we could be a big part of demolishing it. And the biggest part, we're being complicit and allowing this to go on and act like it's normal. It's not normal. It is not normal. When they kill a black man out in the open, under cameras, like they have so many, their own cameras, showing them throwing perfect left hooks and right crosses, as if they do that all the time or they go and train to do it. You don't just, after having not fought for a long time, fight the way these guys do. Is that what they're doing? Preparing themselves just to go out there and brutalize a community. And the people above them, all the way to the top, the president, is complicit. They are okay with it. Nobody's doing anything to stop it. Joe Biden should have been so disgusted, and with all the assistance he received in winning the White House and it being that early into his presidency, and with the majority House and Senate, why would he not push hard for that then? And why? Because they can't get the Democrats all together on those things. And that's a problem. Because black people continue to die while people kind of sit around and... But I do believe that how a president reacts to that kind of stuff will go down to some degree. To some degree. But we need to look at these states where the majority of these type of things are. Or is it just about the same across the United States? Does it peak in some areas? What are their policing practices? I believe that if it's a racial element, no amount of training is going to get it out of there. You can't take a man who has racism right in the center of his heart and train him to be fair when he goes out and polices in situations that come up, and he's basically being confronted with folks he, in his core, in his essence, he hates them. It's unfair to put him in that position, and it's unfair for anybody he encounters in the course of doing his job. And we continue to do it as if it's just going to figure itself out, or racism will just be evolved out of American life, just, kind of on its own. And nothing could be further from the truth. Something needs to happen. Something needs to take place. But we can't keep commemorating the year of George Floyd being dead and nothing's ever happened to change and make sure that that can't duplicate itself.
And measures to increase police staffing and wellness.
And now we see states taking a much bigger role in creating uniform standards.
And some departments moved on their own.
And uniform standards ain't necessarily a good thing. The people who have implemented the rules that are crushing black people right now have a lot of uniform rules in place. So black people are just uniformly being crushed. I think the answer has to be something that we know works. It's no more time after all these black bodies for us to still be out there wondering if this is going to work or wondering if that's going to... Nah, hell nah. We know what work and what don't work, and we need to just start doing it. And these police officers need to be held to another standard as if they were forklift drivers in an Amazon warehouse. Drop a pallet, you go into the clinic. Shoot somebody or be involved in some kind of incident, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you physically contacted them, but some behavior that could be questionable. You go into the clinic and you getting drug tested. That doesn't happen in policing in the United States of America, generally speaking. There may be a few departments that drug test at their end, but generally they don't. And most people don't even think about that. It's more important for a forklift driver to show up with no marijuana in his system than a police officer? I don't think so. I think a police officer needs to be held to a higher standard than a goddamn forklift driver at Amazon. But that's the way I feel about it. And if anybody was serious about police reform and they were a president and they were privy to that little bit of information there, they should see that apparently we ain't putting a high enough priority on police being clear-headed and unbiased and capable and qualified to do their job. Because drugs have gotten people from the hotel industry to transportation to all type of other industries terminated, fired, removed, separated from their employment. And, You never really hear about police. I mean, unless the dude's just coming to work sloshy and he's spilling his liquor contents all over him, and he got a partner who probably works toward getting him help by letting them say, this dude ain't safe. I don't want to be out there with him like that. Some hide it. Some roll like that. But if a guy is able to mask heavy drug use of any kind, whatever it might be, pills, whatever, and have a career, and during the course of that career be in contact with folks who he might genuinely hate. Maybe the pills and the drugs might be a reason to even deal with them. But what kind of policing, what kind of common sense can we all employ to make policing better in the United States? And what we're living under right now, unacceptable. Starting from the way they dress. Kill that. They come out looking like they're in a war zone or something? No. That's not the way the United States of America is set up. That's not how our kids, we wouldn't let our children go outside and play if we felt that police officers had to be dressed like that. I mean, armed that way, coming into our communities where our wives and our daughters and our sons and aunts and uncles, nah, that's completely off the rails, in my opinion. And having been lucky enough to be born black and be able to see this stuff firsthand, I know it's unnecessary. I know who my neighbors were. I know the people in my community, and I didn't even like them all, but nobody in my community deserved that at all. That's totally over the top.
Appreciate you guys having open minds with respect to this training.
More than 400 agencies signing up for peer intervention training, with officers taught how to police.
They spend more money contracting in somebody to come in and tell these guys, don't be mean to black people. If you're prejudiced, if you have a racist bone in your body, you have to be able to overcome this and overcome that. And I think that the biggest issue is that some of these guys are getting on the police force to begin with, without there being some mechanism in place that would be able to catch that kind of a person who could be potentially at issue. And I know they say they got it. And we got AI now. They need to figure something out because it's way too much of that going on. And if they slip by the first stage and get into the academy and make it through that stage and graduate the academy, there has to be a repetitive thing that's going on in that particular person's work that needs to be corrected. It would be very unlikely to believe that they could just go 0 to 100 without ever having another infraction. And if that does happen, then with the drug testing being incorporated as a part of that, then we should be able to find out, oh, damn, he never had any problems at work, but maybe he's going through a lot at home. He has a heavy drinker, heavy drug user. That came out after he cracked that black guy's head down at the liquor store. We sent him down for drinking and drug tests, and we found out that he was positive for both. Alcohol within his system within the last 8 hours. So we need to figure out what's going on here. That would help us. That's a way to really mean you mean it. You don't mean it. Nobody seems to mean it, because all they're going to do is put these cops through a bunch of training, and they're going to be sitting in class nodding off and drinking coffee and eating donuts and wasting more tax money, because somebody got to pay for that. Where's that going to come from? Oh, the federal government, because they've implemented some law that now police have to be able to deal with mental health and do. I am not a police officer, but I have been in many situations with people who were going through mental crisis, and you could tell. You know it's an issue. It's something going on there. Yelling, screaming, just all types of symptoms that would let you know there's something going on there. And the best thing to do is to not engage them. Don't go around trying to talk them, talk crazy to them and direct them. When police show up, if it gets physical, if they have to not engage until they get 12 cops, but it needs to be to the point where you have a level of control where you don't have 1 or 2 cops just beating the hell out of the person. It would be so much more pleasant for the community to see how our police are trained when it has to get physical, when you do have to take a person to the ground, and that you don't hold them in an uncomfortable position until they're gasping for breath, or you're breaking their arm, or just assuming that they may have back, neck, or shoulder issues, and not to make it any worse than it may already be for that person, just because they're having a mental issue at that particular time. And to take it to the point of where that person has some kind of physical issue as a result of that encounter for the rest of their life, or doesn't make out of it alive, or make it out alive. That's horrible stuff to think about.
Their own.
It's not only about the intervention, it's also about being willing to accept it.
Those are the two biggest parts. Not only willing to step up and say, hey, I got this, but then somebody willing to say, you're right, let me take a step back.
While the Detroit Police Department launched a unit fully dedicated to responding to mental health crisis calls, with specialized officers carrying less lethal weapons and partnering with a behavioral health specialist.
What has been the impact you've seen this unit have?
Public trust, confidence in our department, that citizens feel free to call 911 when a person is in crisis. Also, the fact that potential volatile situations are resolved without having to use force or a loss of life.
But despite local changes, police killings have remained stubbornly high.
Yeah, figure that out. Just stubbornly high. It's because we have a problem with race in the United States, and we deal with race through policing. We feel if a particular group has undesirable things about them that we would rather not have around us at all times and in high levels, that we can put them where they are and keep them where they belong, and when they start to come out of those areas, make it so difficult for them to come out of those areas without being arrested, pulled over, noticed, treated funny, that they don't want to come out of those areas. But when they are in those areas, they're being treated almost the exact same way by the everyday presence of the police up and down the streets, knowing people by their first name, that they see them that often. That's the kind of stuff that's got to come to an end. Those are the kind of things that have to become unacceptable. It's not unacceptable, so it's going to continue to happen. It's happening over the United States in way too many places for it to be just a few bad areas. It's a place that would allow a person who wants to be a bad cop, who is a bad cop, who, especially if you have small organizations within the organization of bad cops, it allows that to fester and to grow in most cases. So they don't seem like they're doing anything as far as police reform to make it better. It seems like they're doing everything to make it stay around, to keep it alive, not to get rid of it. By adding these extra training and showing cops in mock situations. I'm gonna break his neck. Hey, partner, step back. Let me handle this. Okay. Hey, Jake, I'm glad you were there today earlier. You really, without your cool head, yeah, right. I mean, in real life situations, that's where temperament comes in. That's where the person will do the same thing every time because that's just who they are. They're not going to ever get to the point where their personal life or their personal feelings is going to pour into cracking somebody's head open or ending somebody's life. That's police reform, trying harder to make sure you put the right people in the right places. And the more black the community, the more black police. That's it. Big, heavy community of Hispanics, big, heavy police presence of Hispanic cops. It's the only way. Asians. Works well because you can walk up to the people and you understand them culturally. And none of that stuff's going to jar you or make you fear for your life because you understand that it's just something that black people do because you're a black cop and you black. And as soon as you take that uniform or whatever they over there doing, you're probably going to go do it. But it shouldn't be something that ends in people's lives. And it's something that I feel the country needs to take more seriously. And that they're not And we need to move forward very cautiously and very carefully as black people, especially as black people who are doing a lot right now with the protesting and the getting involved with the Democratic Party and the fight for these midterms coming up. Just be very careful. This is not a police system in the United States you want to be out there unnecessarily for. If you have to be out there, you got to do what you got to do. But if you don't have to be out there, it would be best to be in the comfort and safety of your home.
And the political momentum for reform since 2020 has flipped. This past week, the Trump Justice Department moved to cancel police reform settlements in Minneapolis, as well as Louisville, the site of the fatal police shooting of Breonna Taylor during a botched raid.
She is down at the end of the hall.
Both departments accused of discriminating and using excessive force against black people. Former Minneapolis Police Chief Madera Arradondo says the Trump administration's reversals are a big mistake.
You know, sadly, I think it's going to hurt.
They are obviously a big mistake. But before the reversals, before the anything was there to reverse, were black people getting killed? Were black people being abused? Were black Trump's little moves this way and Biden's little moves that way? And where is it that the Democrats and the Republicans, as far as black people are concerned, agree? Where do I know the answer to that question? But where do they agree? The police reform, they agree. I don't care how they argue and fight, because they got a few Democrats who are farther left who will stand up and argue and fight, but they could never, ever get all those Democrats to feel like they do as far as police reform for black people, or it would have happened. We've had our supermajorities. That ain't no big old deal. I would think that anybody who want to argue against it would be looking kind of like an outcast. You're up there basically saying, we want to change policing in America. We have a super majority in Congress, and we're going to go for it. And for the Republicans or the rest of the country to say, what? Reform? Why? And then these senators and people in the House who believe it would show the murder rates, the percentages, the ratios of blacks being hunted by police officers, their areas being policed way differently than, the white people who really don't believe it. Dress them up like a black person and put a hoodie on them where they can't be seen. Have them go walk through a neighborhood. They're going to either get hit by the police or by the people who live in that community. It ain't a real cool thing to do, and that's what we have to do every day. So with that being said, nobody could be like, oh, it ain't that bad. Oh, you don't think it's that bad? Oh, it is. It really is. And it needs to be addressed appropriately. And not by taking more of our tax money so that we can make it look like the police are trained to a higher level, which just waste a bunch of money, and then they continue to do the same things that they've been doing. Then that wasn't it. We've been doing that for too long. That means it's not a genuine attempt at change. It's just an attempt to make us believe that you've changed, and a waste of money.
Both departments and communities.
Calling the reforms made since Floyd's murder a work in progress.
But all of that pales in comparison if you don't make sure you're bringing on people with character. And that character did not exist out here the night of May 25th, 2020.
5 years after George Floyd became a rallying cry for millions of Americans, hands up, don't shoot! A national movement to reform policing now at a crossroads.
And Shaquille joins me now.
Yeah, when we're out there in the streets as black men, especially when you get to be like over the age of 40, 40, 45. I think Floyd was like in his mid 40s, 46. What you don't even expect that kind of. You're on a whole different level. And you're not like the kids, the guys in their 20s and teens out there. You're a man at that point, and you're out there, and you expect your encounters with law enforcement to be a little different. We don't expect that, and unfortunately, we are disarmed sometimes by assuming it's going to be different, and then they catch us slipping, and this kind of thing happens. He out there chilling. How you don't expect to be in handcuffs, and if you've ever been in handcuffs, or I'm sorry, if you've ever not been in handcuffs, you don't know how you're going to react to handcuffs until you get put in them. Some people are calm and, they seem to not have an issue with them. Some people tense up. Some people fight. It's a different experience for everybody, but some people can hold it in and not show anything, but it's a different experience. And if you respond the wrong way and you look to be combative or you look to be trying to escape, that could get you killed. And then when it all is spread out for everybody to see, days later, they usually say, well, gosh, he was just jaywalking, or he was just accused of stealing a pack of cigarettes out of the store, or, it's something really. Then you start thinking he died, though. And then when all this kind of stuff goes to court, with everything being taken into account, you would think that that's the kind of training where police would say, well, damn, this guy sure is being aggressive or resistant or whatever it is that made you attack him and kill him or confront him in such a way. Instead of being able to back up and say, well, you know what, bruh, if you stole the cigarettes, you know what, have a good day or whatever, damn it. But we ain't come out here to hurt you. We ain't, a person's life. People, no, you can't let them leave like that. Why? Over a pack of cigarettes, over a jaywalk, over some things even less than that. Even phone calls in from other citizens who are like, hey, there's a guy standing out in front of me. What's he doing? Oh, I don't know. He's just standing there. Well, okay, we'll see if we can get a car. Then when they come out there and the guy was doing just what they said, it's just standing there. It's like, what, you can't stand in front of an apartment building? You can't stand in front of a store? Sometimes you don't have anywhere else to go or nothing else to be doing. So stuff like that might look out of place for somebody who has a job, a career, kids, a home, all kind of things going on. But if you don't have any of those things, you might spend time doing things that look unnatural or not normal to the rest of us because you ain't got nothing else to be doing, or that's what you do in your time. And it might not look normal to everyone else, but it is what it is.
Live from Minneapolis. Shaq, good morning. There have been marches and commemorations of George Floyd's murder in cities across the country this weekend. What do they have planned there in Minneapolis today?
Well, Willie, today we'll really cap off what's been a weekend of commemorations here in Minneapolis. Everything from panel discussions to dinners honoring members of the community, even a street festival at the intersection where George Floyd was killed. Today we can expect to see a gospel concert and then a candlelight vigil during the hour where he took his last breaths 5 years ago today. And Willie, I'll tell you, talking to members of the community, there is still real pain. There's hurt here in Minneapolis, even uncertainty over what to do with that exact intersection where he was killed and how to potentially reopen it to members of the everyday public. But a word that you keep...
They're just thinking of a nice little monument or something they can put up. And we ought to be tired of monuments. We ought to be tired of that stuff and not care about a monument. Hopefully his gravesite is nice for his family to go and see him. But he was much more than what everybody knows him as, the man who got pinned down and murdered by a police officer. His family should have the right to a real memory of him and not that tragic day that everybody acts like that's just his life, and it ain't. Shit, he got a whole nother part of him that we don't know about and we won't know about, and I don't care what kind of statue. They could build a damn pyramid there and name it after him. It does not take away from the fact that nothing has changed and nothing is going to change. And we should at least be smart enough to see whether we have a Democrat or a Republican in the White House. The police cries for change and reform and all those things remain the same. They're working together on that front.
Hearing is the word hope. People are hopeful about the future here, and they say that the commemorations that you're seeing here in Minneapolis are part of that process of healing for them, and that's part of what you'll see later today, Willie.
Let's hope so. Shaquille Brewster in Minneapolis, where George...
Well, I call bullshit. I really believe that it's just a bunch of bullshit. They really doing that just for us to look at this and get excited and feel good about it. They got a little street festival out there in the area where he died. What they should be doing is giving those people some sanctuary, some belief that it's not going to be like that ever again in the communities that they call home. And that they're going to really know that what they know in their heart about policing in the areas that they grew up in ain't going to be like that no more. That their kids are going to be safe, and it's not even in the back of your mind when they leave if they have gotten pulled over for running a stop sign or speeding, or if they get in a car accident or anything else, that they're not going to come to some violent end at the hands of a police officer. That's what people want. That's what life is supposed to offer us all at a minimum. And here we are below that line and still able to get up each day and live in these communities that are policed quite differently than the rest of the country. And us as individuals, wherever we go and police encounter us, we stick out because that's not what they're used to encountering. So their treatment to us is different than it is to their normal, ordinary police stops. And it's just something that we have all become too relaxed in. Hell, Trump rolling back whatever Biden rolled up that didn't do anything. Since he rolled it and he rolled it, they should smoke it because it's not doing us any good. It's not doing us a bit of good. So what did we miss? What did we lose? Oh, Trump wrote it. They telling you what he did, but what was the result of it? Did less people die? Did more people die? It's all just all for nothing. Until they really serious, you'll know it. I know I will. I know what real serious police reform will look like, and this ain't it. Anybody trying to commemorate for what? What are you commemorating? Are we celebrating? Are we gonna turn this into something like Thanksgiving where we're celebrating a massacre? Because that's what that was. It's difficult for them to try to find something positive out of this when they haven't done anything. They expected to just let the passage of time turn this into a positive event so that we'll all just forget, or it'll be softened in our memories, or we'll hear it through so many different stories and hand it down until they can change the actual meaning and the actual reason for any of this to even be talked about to this day. Like, comment, share, and please subscribe. And I appreciate the support. We'll see you on the next Black Pop.